Since the beginning of the war, since October 7th, the whole issue of the food getting into Gaza and how much food is getting in has been weaponized by Hamas and by the whole pro-Hamas crowd. And what they're doing most recently is claiming that there's a starvation crisis. The quantities of food, I'm not going to get into the weeds of the numbers, but the quantities of food that have been brought into the Gaza Strip since the beginning of the war and month over month is enough to feed the Gaza Strip, according to the World Food Program's numbers for what it takes to feed people, for longer than this war has gone on, for about 27 months worth of food. And there's plenty of food getting into the Gaza Strip. But what's happening is that Hamas is trying to perpetuate this narrative that Gazans are starving because, starting about 2 months ago, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is run by Americans and is in cooperation with the Israelis, has started distributing food, started distributing humanitarian aid directly to the people of Gaza. And why is that important? Because until they started doing that, the only way for Gazans to get food was to get it from Hamas. All of the tons and tons of food, all the truckloads of food that have been coming into the Gaza Strip as humanitarian aid since the beginning of the war until 2 months ago were brought in by United Nations organizations that were working hand in glove with Hamas. It was going directly to Hamas, and then Hamas would sell it at exorbitant prices to the people, hoard it for themselves, take all the fuel to fuel their war machine, use it to recruit new recruits into Hamas, and it was basically Hamas's oxygen. The estimates now by the United States, by the State Department, is that Hamas has made approximately $500 million just from selling aid to the people of the Gaza Strip since the war has began. So Israel has realized for a long time that this is a problem because while the aid has to get to people, the aid is also fueling Hamas. So 2 months ago, they started this new program where in areas that are under Israeli security control on the Gaza Strip, they distribute the food directly to the Gazan citizens. All the aid is supposed to be free. In fact, there are videos and pictures online of packages marked not for sale being sold by Hamas vendors to the people of the Gaza Strip. So what's happening now is because food is being distributed directly to the Gazan citizens at these distribution centers, that's cutting off Hamas's oxygen because the people can get food directly from the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. They don't have to pay exorbitant prices to Hamas, and Hamas is both losing control of the population and also losing their cash flow. So they started perpetuating this starvation narrative really just over the course of the last couple of weeks. It has no basis in fact. We see this even from the Gaza Health Ministry, which is Hamas's own numbers for casualties for deaths throughout this war. There's nobody dying of starvation in the Gaza Strip. But you could also see it looking at the pictures on your screen right now. We know what starving people look like. These are Gazans. They're not emaciated. They're not starving. The people of Gaza are not starving. But Hamas needs to perpetuate this narrative so that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is discredited and they could go back to the old system of all of the food and aid going through the UN to Hamas so they can retain control over the population and keep their cash flow going.